You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, got in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Janeludis, and today, guys, we have another special guest, another great interview for you to impact and bring something great to the table. Guys, we have the president and founder of the Drug Educators Alliance, someone who has truthfully learned the ins and out of the entire path with his own experiences, having witnessed the loss of 7 of his friends to drugs and alcohol, all before the age of 16, to now forging a path from that and forging a path ahead to become a leader for one, and to become a guide to educate people, but more importantly, guys, to educate children on the truth about drugs, which I think we all can say in today's day and age, we can see it, it's needed more than we can ever imagine. Guys, I give you Darren Tessitore. Darren, welcome to the table, and I appreciate you being on Once a Week.
Thanks, Billy. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. So dive into this, the Drug Educators Alliance. That's such a major piece right now that you're building, and you're helping people around the entire country. We were talking before we were recording. You're in Massachusetts right now. You're all over. So what is this? What do you bring to the table with this?
So basically, what we do is we figured out a way of how to educate kids on what drugs really are and how drugs really work.
Mm.
What we found is that our nation is being bombarded with drugs, right?
Right.
Just for an example, in 2022 so far, we've had 130,000 overdose deaths in America alone. That's up from 100,000 last year.
Mm.
And the year's not even over.
Right.
And what's happening is these kids are just getting inundated with the drugs, but also the adults are as well.
Mm.
And we're seeing a lot of the fentanyl and the vaping issues and a lot of that happening. And what we've discovered is that if you don't know exactly what drugs are, what drugs do, how they work, how they affect your mind, how they affect your body, how they can stop you from achieving your goals, things like that, then you're going to make really bad decisions.
Right.
So what we've done is we've basically gone and decided to train all of the educators on this planet that teach kids about drugs,
Mm.
how to properly educate kids on the dangers of drugs.
Mm.
And that's really what Drug Educators Alliance is for. I started volunteering with an organization called the Foundation for a Drug-Free World about 15 years ago.
Mm.
They have a great drug education program. It's free. They have free materials and free resources and free documentaries that any educator can use. So I started traveling the nation teaching teachers how to use this program.
Mm.
And the reason I formed my nonprofit was to basically be a place for all drug educators on earth to come and get all the resources they need to truly educate kids on what drugs are and what drugs do.
Mm.
And that's what we're doing. And we're incorporating obviously Drug Free World because their materials are amazing, but we also have other drug education materials that we're bringing into the mix that have been found to be effective.
Mm.
So that's what we do, man. And we just,
Yeah.
our goal is to reach as many kids as possible. And early on, I realized that I could not personally educate every kid on this planet. It just wouldn't mathematically work.
Right.
I don't have the amount of time or the number of hours in the day to talk to every kid.
Mm.
So that's where I decided to start teaching teachers.
Awesome.
So we work a lot with police, school resource officers. These are cops that work in schools.
Mm.
We work a lot with driver education. Driver educators need to talk about drugs and alcohol as part of their as part of their driver ed classes. So they're a great resource.
Yeah.
We work with health teachers, physical education teachers, and anyone that wants to talk to kids about drugs.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
phenomenal.
it's exciting.
No, seriously, that's major right now. And I can resonate with that because I do a lot of work in the inner cities with, teenage clients, families, and everything like that. And just to see the impact, like I can give you an example. I was driving a client home from a session. He's a 16-year-old kid. And someone was knocking on the window for, money, homeless man, everything like that. So I go to give him a couple bucks, and the kid's looking at me in the passenger seat. He's like, you know what he's going to do with that, right? I go, I don't know, man. I hope he goes and buys himself some food. He goes, Bill, there's fentanyl everywhere in this city right now, and he's going to use that. And I sat there, and one, it impacted me in the sense of like, oh, the guy's going to do that. But it impacted me more so that the 16-year-old kid that was sitting next to me, that's just trying to get through high school and everything, knows what's going on behind the scenes and where the drugs are and everything like that. And he has to dodge that every single day, and I give him so much credit for it. But again, the impact of that, a 16-year-old kid now has to know what's going on around him so much. But I give you so much credit because this work. One, I love what you said where you're teaching the teachers because, like you said, you're one person trying to impact the world. But now, okay, how can I greater the domino effect? If I teach the teachers and they have a class of 30 kids nowadays, teaches all
Mm,
of them. Oh my goodness, talk about a wave right there. So I give you that's incredible
right.
planning, but strategy right there to help everyone in the world for that matter. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's working out. It's working out really well. I mean, we've trained close to about 15,000, upwards of 18,000 teachers already.
Mhm.
Um, we distribute millions of pieces of material a year. This year, I think from the last count I did, we're up over 2 million kids this year reached,
Wow,
which
that's
is,
awesome.
a lot easier than going and talking to 2 million kids individually.
I get that, right?
Yeah.
Definitely, I get that for sure. Yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
just the impact of that itself. I see the other side of that because I might work with audiences in a speaking gig, but I'll work with people one on one. So it's great to see the impact of one person, but like you said, spreading the love for that matter with all the knowledge. It's awesome. For you to
Yeah.
step into this role, like your experiences, like I know I touched on a little bit in the intro. If you don't mind, we step into that this entire path started for you from a very young age where you started witnessing all this and observing all this around you kind of shows how the pieces fall into play. But do you want to talk about that a little bit and like the such a
Sure.
major impact that started the process?
Yeah, grew up in Dedham, Massachusetts. I'm not
Okay.
sure if you're familiar with it. Small
Yeah.
little middle class town. And then right around third, fourth grade, started seeing drugs and alcohol coming into play. And that's when I started drinking and smoking weed, and
Mm-hmm.
that got into some heavier drugs. And then you just start hanging around with that crowd of people that are getting drunk and getting high. And I noticed my grades in school were going down. I stopped going and participating in sports as much. I mean, my sixth grade baseball team won the state championship, and I wasn't even there at the game. All
Really?
right.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
mailed me a trophy.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So it just started becoming more and more prevalent. And then people started dying.
Yeah.
I had a couple kids, really good friend died in a car crash, another friend died in a car crash. And then one of my friends got shot trying to steal cocaine.
Mm.
One got shot trying to attack his dad. And then I had my two really close friends die on the back of a motorcycle on their way to my house. They were high and riding a motorcycle crazy and crashed into a
Wow.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I had another one of my friend's brothers die. He was drunk, fell off a seawall and down the Cape. And then this other kid gets hit by a drunk driver, not even drinking. He was just walking across the street in Dedham at the movie theaters there and got hit by a drunk driver.
Wow.
And I just think all of these losses accumulated just put me in this place where it was like, well, I can keep doing this if I want to,
Yeah.
but I'm going to die,
Hmm.
or I can try to figure out a way out. So I left and I moved up to New Hampshire and I started teaching skiing at Loon Mountain.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm just going to ski. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to get away from all of this. So I went and got an apartment.
Yep.
Luckily I had my family that helped me do that, but a lot of people don't have that.
Yeah.
So I got the apartment, I moved out, and I just stopped doing drugs and drinking and just disconnected from all of it. And that was it. But then years later, my kids got to that age where they were, 14, 15 years old, and drugs were getting introduced to their schools. We were out in central Mass, and my kids were going to public school, and it was like, shit, they're doing weed, they're drinking. It's like right there. I need to teach my kids about what's happening. And that's where I found the Foundation for a Drug-Free World
Mm.
and started using those materials with my kids. And then I just said, well, I should probably get this to more people. And
Yeah.
that's where it just started evolving from there. And the next thing you know, I'm speaking at national conferences, I'm traveling around the country doing seminars. And now I bring my daughter with me. So she's been coming with me since she was 9.
Nice.
She's now 17. And she's been just this year, she's been to over 30 states.
Wow.
Um, I throw her on stage all the time. I had her doing a seminar last week in Boca Raton to 250 driver educators,
Wow.
and there she is, this little 17-year-old talking about drugs. It's great, so it's really been impactful having her there because people get to see like, hey, this is a kid, she sees it, she gets it.
Mm,
And she actually helped me create a really good presentation on vaping.
mm,
Um, During the pandemic, we were doing seminars for schools from home. So I had a lot of teachers that would ask me to come on Zoom and talk to their kids. And the biggest topic that we ran into that they needed help with was vaping.
mm,
Um, and a lot of people think, well, it's just vape. It's not going to kill you. It's totally fine. It's harmless. It doesn't hurt. Well, it's completely not true. It is very harmless and it really
right.
does hurt and it literally can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But what people don't realize about the vape is the dangers actually come from the metal,
Mm,
the little thing called the atomizer, which is that coil that heats up from 250 to 450 degrees.
mm,
So 90% of those atomizers are made in China, and Chinese metal regulations are very, very, very slim. They'll put anything they can in that metal to sell it as cheap as they can.
gotcha.
And that's where they'll put arsenic, lead, tin, other hard, heavy, dangerous metals. And when you heat these metals up to that temperature and then run a liquid across them,
Yep.
that liquid vaporizes, but it also picks up particles of that metal.
Right.
And that metal then goes into your lungs and it actually clogs what's called the alveoli, the little hairs in your lungs.
Mm-hmm.
The metal goes in there, clogs them, and causes them to explode.
Mm,
And when these explode, it's literally like cutting off a finger.
mm,
Next thing you know, you have no more fingers in your lungs and then you can't breathe.
yeah.
They don't grow back. You cut a finger off, it's not growing back.
Right.
So you're literally shutting down portions of your lungs forever.
Wow.
And that's where you're starting to see a lot of these kids get hospitalized that can't breathe, and it's from vaping.
Yeah.
And then you throw on top of it the nicotine that's being put in the vapes and how addictive that is. And then how you can literally turn any drug into a liquid.
Mm,
So
right.
now they're vaping high potency THC, which is 85 to 95%.
Mm,
They're they're vaping LSD, heroin, meth, you name it. They're turning it into vapes, and then that is obviously dangerous in itself.
right.
THC is literally classified as a hallucinogen, and that's the primary drug in marijuana.
Right.
So yes, if you're smoking a joint and you have it at 5 or 6%, you may not really hallucinate, but you put it at 70, 80, 90% straight THC and you're vaping it,
Mm,
that's when you start actually getting into the hallucination and the heavy addiction that comes along with it.
yeah.
Where, you talk to people that vape THC and you'll notice that they vape it all day,
Yep.
every day.
Right.
And they have different types that they're vaping based on what they want to do. Do they want to wake up? Do they want to go to bed? Do they just want to chill? Whatever it is, they'll have literally different strands of THC that they're vaping
Yep.
that will cause their mood to go in the way that they want their mood to go.
Yep.
And that's what's really scary. And
Yeah.
then you throw on top of that the psychiatric medications.
Mhm.
So now you have a kid who's on an antidepressant who starts THC vaping, and boom, you have a school shooter at your hands.
Yeah.
And you go back and you look at all the school shooters we've had in the past 10 years, every single one of them was on psychiatric drugs.
Mm,
And even more recent, all of the more recent ones were vaping THC
yeah.
and high potency THC.
Right.
And that combination literally makes life a video game,
Yeah.
right? So it just puts you in this unreal hallucinogenic state where you just don't really comprehend what's happening in reality.
Yeah.
And it's scary. So proper education is the solution. We recently started a first time offender program. We partnered with an organization called Friends of Narconon. They have a federally approved drug education program.
Mm,
So we use that drug education program as our first time offender program. And this can be offered to any municipality or court or city government that wants to put their first time drug offenders through a drug education program.
mm,
We've done surveys of this program, 6 months, 1 year, and 3 years. And after 3 years, kids going through this program, still drug free,
mm,
not wanting to do drugs.
yeah.
So it's extremely effective.
Yep.
So we've been implementing that a lot. We've been hiring lots of people around the country to go and deliver the program. So if you have a school or you are working for a court department or a city government and you want a program that's effective
Yeah.
to get kids to not want to do drugs, this is
Yeah.
our program is spot on. And we have people all over the country too, so we can deliver it anywhere, which is exciting.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, seriously, the reach is absolutely incredible. And I agree with you so much. Just on the knowledge of, whether it's vaping, THC, these other aspects of drugs and the process that goes with it. I get a lot of kids, clients, family situations with that exact situation you explained where the kid's vaping all day, or he's vaping THC because he needs that hit throughout the day, to the point where he's not sleeping through the night because he
That's
can't
right.
sleep unless he's doing it. And
You got it.
it turns into just these giant situations. But it was spot everything that you just said is so spot on to what he was going through. And that's the struggle. And these kids there, and me with what I do is I go so deep into the situation with a kid where you try and figure out, all right, what's the cause of the situation, whether it's anxiety, fear, family situations, depression, frustration, and you try and build them out of it. And there's been some success, like you said before, where it's like you're working with one individual or you're working with a group of individuals by you teaching the teachers. With working on
Mhm.
one individual and seeing what these teenagers or people are just going through, we're not training people with the skills anymore, the strengths to be able to make that decision where I'm done with this, as you did. And you had the
Yeah.
firing behind you with the observations, witnessing your friends passing away at every which turn, it sounds like, and then choosing, you know what, I need to separate myself. You went up to the mountain, you started that process, and then came back to Massachusetts and everything. But it's just so incredible where if we can teach a kid how to make an empowering decision and trust himself in that, we're good. But everything else, sadly, in society right now is telling us that, if I make this step, what's going to happen? And then fear steps in. So for you to
Mhm.
reach out a hand to the teachers and the education system who are working with kids firsthand, daily, half the year, even more so sometimes, you're allowing these kids to get the help that they need. And it sparks a question for me. Are there, like, because for whether it's parents, teachers, anyone listening right now or watching this video, what is a struggle that teachers bring to you in trying to get the kids to grasp the information? Because sometimes kids,
Mhm.
they have those walls up, but do teachers ever bring you that question, and how do you kind of find your way around that?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the old saying is that the truth will prevail, right?
Yep.
So if you present the kids with actual factual truth,
Mm,
right, and don't make them wrong,
yep.
and don't fight with them or try to get into an argument with them about the drugs being bad, just present them the actual scientific truth data on what it is that they're doing.
Yeah.
You're going to find the ones that will go, oh shoot, I didn't realize that that was what this did,
Mm,
right?
right.
you know and then you kind of cut it back as well too. If you go back, like, well, why are these kids doing drugs, right? What's the real reason? And what we found to be one of the primary reasons is straight up boredom,
Mm,
right?
yep. Right.
And what causes someone to be bored, right? Like, why do people get bored? Well, they don't have a goal or a purpose that they're working towards,
Mm,
right? If you have a goal or a purpose that you're trying to achieve, and you're literally trying to achieve that goal and you're working towards that goal, you're not going to be as bored as you were without a goal,
mm,
right? So, one thing that we try to instill is help these kids create goals and purposes,
nice.
help them to figure out where they want to go,
Yep.
right? And quite honestly, it doesn't have to be, I want to be a billionaire and own a jet plane.
Yep.
It can be, I want to run every morning. I want to wake up earlier. I want to go to sleep earlier. I want to spend less time on my phone.
Mm,
These little doable steps, right?
yep.
Break it down. Like, okay, yeah, you want to be a billionaire. Got it. You want to have your own jet plane and fly around the world like Grant Cardone. That's awesome.
Mm,
But you now work that backwards to where are you now
right.
and how are you actually going to get there?
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's look at some of the traits that successful people have. Do you think Grant stays up till 3 in the morning playing on his phone video games? Do you think Grant wakes up at noon? Right. Do you think that Elon Musk is going to bed at 4 a.m. because he was out partying all night long?
Mm,
Right.
right.
You start looking at what are these people doing and how can you start implementing that in your life now
Right.
to start working towards these goals and purposes that you have.
Yeah.
And that alone literally gets these kids to stop being so bored, but
Yep.
have a game, right? Create some type of a game.
Yep.
If you don't know where you're going to go, you're not going to go anywhere,
Yep.
right?
Right.
It's like, I want to be an astronaut. Well, what does that mean? That's great that you want to be an astronaut, but what does it take to actually be an astronaut?
Right.
Right? Like, I wanted to be a professional skier and ski in the Olympics.
Mm,
So I moved up to New Hampshire, started teaching skiing, and was like, okay, so how do I get in the Olympics?
mm,
And when I literally broke it down to what it would take to get me in the Olympics, I was like, yeah, no, I can't do that.
I getcha.
I can't. I can't ski for 60 hours a week, every week, 300 days a year, or
Mm,
350 days a year. Literally do nothing but skiing. For one, I can't afford it.
yeah.
I don't have the money to go down to South America in the summer,
Mm,
right? I don't have the money to live on the side of a mountain and ski every single day, right? And that just but then I started morphing myself into other goals and creating other goals where my I realized my true purpose in life was to help people.
yeah.
Like, look, my purpose is to help people. I want to make this world better. I want to leave it a better place than I came into it.
Love it.
How do I do that? How do I make my mark by creating a better world?
Yeah.
Right. And that became my purpose. And then that's when I found Drug Free World.
Yeah.
And that's when I started, okay, well, how can I take this experience I've had as a kid that almost killed me
Yep.
and impart that into other kids that can help them live better lives, more happier lives, more successful lives, and make this world a little bit better every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it just comes down to having that purpose and having that goal and being focused and staying true to it.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can't sleep in every now and then or play or have fun,
Right.
but just know where you're going, know what your goal is, know what you're shooting for.
Yep.
And I think and I see that, when these kids do that, it literally makes life that much more exciting, and they're not as prone to want to do the drugs,
Yep.
right? They're not like, oh, we have to go get high because there's nothing else to freaking do,
Right.
right? It's
Yeah.
anyway, it's the same. It's
No,
the
it's
same with
true.
vaping. When you look at these kids, just want to vape because it's fun. There's nothing else to do, and then the next thing you know, they're addicted to nicotine.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't realize that the jewel had 5.5% straight up nicotine in it,
Right.
which every hit is like half a pack of cigarettes worth of nicotine.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this shit's addictive.
Exactly.
Quitting smoking was the hardest thing I ever had to do.
Mm,
That was literally the hardest thing I've ever done this lifetime was stopping smoking cigarettes.
yeah. Yeah.
It was like, and I smoked for 15 years, and then that last year when I quit, it took me a good 8 months to quit smoking.
Yeah. I get you. Yeah.
And it was not easy, man, and it was painful and it was tiring and it hurt,
Yep.
and it hurt my family because I was a jerk.
Mm, yeah. It changes you. It definitely changes you. Right.
Definitely changes you,
Yeah. And
without a doubt.
I resonate with so much. Very, very like-minded in the approaches to help people, whether it's kids or and I bring very something very similar to my seminars and whatnot. This backtracking idea. So people listening, people viewing right now, what Darren just explained to you with for kids of this goal and then backtracking progress process. When you have a role model or you have a goal that you set for yourself, and then you figure out, okay, that person left a roadmap behind. As you mentioned, with use the example of Grant Cardone or someone else, they left a roadmap behind. So to be able to see, okay, if they took these steps, how am I going to take these steps? Whether that's a teenager looking at it, a kid looking at it, or someone right now in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it is, when you have that goal and you can envision where you're going to be with that success, you can see the steps that you took to get there in your mind, for that matter. But with what Darren just explained, helping a kid see that when a kid sets a goal, that becomes the focus point. And when they start to get a little taste of what this success is, they're like, oh my goodness, this is so much better. Because success will give you, we'll use the terminology for it. Success will give you a better high than any drug ever could, because it's you. It's your own personal step that you're taking. It's your own inspiration, your motivation you're moving forward on. It's your own energy. It's not you going through something external, some external substance to help bring you that feel good moment. And when a kid learns that they can create their own feel good moment, for that matter, consistently by moving forward on a goal, and then they see themselves grow, oh my goodness, is that a life change right there? But as Darren does teaching the teachers, it expands, because that one kid now takes it to his friends. And I've seen that firsthand with my teenage clients, where essentially they might be smoking, they might be, not in the best options, we'll say. It might not be drugs, but it could be drinking or something else, or just the people they hang out with. When they can allow some aspect of focus during the week or consistently throughout the week on something that betters them, and they realize that, oh my goodness, other people believed in me, I can do this, and then they take a step and they believe in themselves, at that point, domino effect. Because the kids would then come to session, the teenagers would be like, hey, I haven't touched a cigarette, I haven't smoked all week. And at that point, I'm elated, I'm ecstatic for them. But then they say, oh yeah, no, I started playing basketball more. I started practicing more for football. I started, maybe it's a sport, maybe it's studying more for class, maybe it's a group in school for that matter. But these kids, they get that inspiration. So any parent listening right now, any teacher listening right now, any group member listening right now, take what Darren just said, because there's so much power behind it to help a kid out. But also, any adult listening, is the same process for you. It doesn't change. It's just us learning how to take those steps for ourselves. But Darren, I give you so much
Yeah.
credit for that, because that's such an powerful aspect right there.
Yeah, and it just really gives them that purpose to not be bored.
Yeah.
And then when they're not bored, they're now more less likely to actually do the drugs.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
it's
it.
pretty intense.
No, it seriously is, and you're doing absolutely incredible work there, and you guys really are. Now, where can people find you for that matter? I know that I'm going to put your website at the end of this video, so people be on the lookout for that. But where can people gain more information on this entire nonprofit you put together, just to learn about it, or even if the option is there for people to get involved with you and help the process of helping these schools and everything like that?
Sure. Drugeducators.org. That's our
Yep.
website.
Perfect.
You can request to be a volunteer there.
Yep.
You can donate if you want to donate. You can go and look at all of our resources. We have a bunch of online courses being built right now.
Nice.
But we also have a resource page that has a ton of downloadable programs and products you can start using right now.
Mm,
Like we have a great vaping seminar that you can literally just send to all your kids.
yeah.
If you want to schedule us to come and speak at your school or come to speak at your, be part of your first time offender program, if you're a court or a drug court or something like that, you can reach us that way as well.
Yeah.
It's all right on our website, drugeducators.org.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah. No,
exciting.
that's awesome. And like you said, you're doing incredible work. So anyone listening right now, I'm going to put their website at the end of this video. You can find the credits. You're going to be able to find in the description of this on YouTube and everything. You can go right there, check it out. Get Darren and everyone at the schools, because they're bringing so much to the table to help these kids out, to help the teachers out too. And like, as much as we're trying to help essentially a group of people, helping one kid, and then that kid can take that experience to someone, one of his friends, domino effect. Everyone's getting helped at that point. But Darren, I thank
No
you so
doubt.
much for being here. Is there a final message that you want to leave with people? Leave with a kid listening, leave with a parent, a teacher listening right now, to help them either take the steps or to help them move forward in any way they can, thanks to everything you bring to the table?
The simple truth of all of this comes down to, what do you want to do and what do you want to achieve with your life?
Mm,
Where do you want to be in 15, 20, 30 years from now?
hmm.
Right? If you don't know that, then figure out something that
Yeah.
you want to do that's going to be better than sitting on your butt and smoking crack,
Yeah.
or overdosing on heroin somewhere,
Yeah.
or taking a fake fentanyl pill. I don't know if you know about these pills right now, but Oxycontins and all those other pills,
Yeah.
there are millions of them being pumped into the market right now that are fake, laced with fentanyl. And the DEA has said that over 40% of the pills confiscated had lethal dosages of fentanyl.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nasty. So you get hooked on oxy, then you go on the street and you buy an oxy, and well, there's about a 90% chance it's fake. And then
Yeah.
if you get a fake one, there's a 40% chance you'll die. Right?
Wow.
So find yourself a game, create a game and a purpose, and start working towards it. Even if it's just waking up earlier,
Yeah.
and make that your game. Like, I'm going to get up at 8 o'clock every morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to get up at 8 o'clock every morning. And that becomes your game.
Right.
Right. And then you achieve that and then create another one.
Yeah.
Right. And just keep building up these purposes and goals until you get to that ultimate purpose that you want.
Yeah.
You find that people that have done that, their bar is still moving constantly. They're constantly creating something else in the future.
Yeah.
And that's going to, one, keep you from being bored, but it's also, two, going to keep you really happy and excited about life.
Yeah.
Right? And then also look at who you're surrounding yourself with.
Mm,
If your circle of friends are getting high every day, is that really your circle of friends?
right.
And are they truly your friend? My best friend was the one that got me smoking pot.
Mm,
And when I go back and I look at it, he actually wasn't my friend at all.
mm,
He
yep.
did not do one thing that helped enhance my life or make my life better.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, he died, and I only knew him a few years, maybe 5 years.
Yep.
But from when I started actually hanging out with him until he died,
Yeah.
he did nothing to make my life better.
Mm,
So really examine your circle of friends. And if you're hanging around a bunch of people that just want to get high and do nothing but play video games all day long, ask yourself, is that where you want to be in 10 years from now?
right.
Because if you hang around it that long, that's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Yeah, no,
I hope that
I
I
appreciate
hope
that.
that that helps. And and also if you need anything, you guys can always reach out to us at drugeducators.org.
Mhm.
Our email's on there. There's a link to fill out a form to contact us. But yeah,
Yeah,
you can anything you need, man. We're a resource.
that's phenomenal right there. Take it right there, guys. And that right, the final message, you become the people you're around, right? And a lot of us don't want to take the look at that, but it's wholeheartedly true. And when you actually take into account that, whether it's a kid or an adult listening right now, those slight little choices, those empowering decisions to start to change that circle or to add or heck, get into a different circle. And with more empowering people that are going to build you up, you become like them. And if you have people around you that are driving towards something, moving towards a goal for themselves, you will naturally get in line with having a goal for yourself. So I agree with everything you said, Darren. And like everyone, like I said before, you're going to have that link, guys. Everyone, you can go right there. You can get in touch with them. You can get all the resources. Heck, you can even get them to one of the schools. But Darren, I thank you so much for being a part of Once a Week and being able to bring this impactful message because you guys are doing such incredible work. Like this is the work that I think a lot of people in the world right now are overlooking because it's just a lot of people have to be very focused on themselves. But when you start to see that focus on yourself, there's younger people right now. The next generation is kind of falling off. But to be able to step into that and help the next generation grow, changes the entire game for everyone. So, Darren, I give you so much credit for that. I'm loving the work you guys do. I thank you so much for being a part of Once a Week. And, I got to get you back on here at some point. Of
Thanks, Billy. Appreciate you having us.
course. Yeah. Guys, like this message on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button below. Share this message to someone that you know needs it, whether it's a kid, whether it's a other parent, whoever it is. Share this message to them so they can take the impact and spread it just as much. Subscribe to Once a Week if you haven't already. And guys, if you are looking to get more on the Drug Educators Alliance, click the link in the description. Head right over there. You can talk to Darren. You can talk to everyone, and you're going to get all the information you need. But yeah, Darren, thanks again. Looking forward to the next
Thanks.
one.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for
Awesome.
having us.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too.
You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it back there. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the